Grave Encounters is a 2011 found footage gem from the Vicious Brothers, featuring a group of documentary filmmakers who find themselves shooting a reality TV series in an abandoned asylum that turns out to actually be haunted. In a world where we are flooded with found footage schlock from almost every direction, gems can be a hard thing to come by. But these two films definitely live up to the hype. Grave Encounters did an incredible job in its opening moments, with its representation of a ghost hunting TV series, complete with overzealous camera movement and a cameraman who was far too zoom happy, as well as over-the-top and cheesy acting. They were somehow able to bring the feeling that you get when you watch one of those shows, while at the same time mocking them in a very tongue-in-cheek sort of way. In fact, on that note, one of my favorite moments in the film is when the star Lance Preston, the most pompous character name the writers could possibly think of, interviews the gardener outside of the asylum, and bribes him to just tell an interesting story. For me, that was just a hilarious little jab at the world of reality television, which is a world that I absolutely hate. I thought that the performances from the entire cast were very realistic, and for the most part, highly convincing. For example, the way that TC reacts to the paranormal events that he's experiencing, and even the fact that Lance allowed them to be locked in the building are very authentic. I can tell you that that is pretty close to how I would react in a situation such as that, because that's kind of what fear does to you. The character of Houston Gray was hilarious. I loved his hokey nature while he is doing the whole psychic bit, then the switch up to just a normal struggling actor once the bit is no longer relevant. This movie is very well shot for a found footage film and uses that style very effectively. Its weakest point is definitely the CGI enhancements that were given to the spirits. It looks far from terrible, but of all the aspects, that is the one thing that pulled me right out of the movie at times. I very much enjoyed that once they discovered that they were trapped within this building and they have traveled up to the top floor, everything from then on begins to feel like a descent into hell, while they descend towards the tunnels beneath the asylum, and at the same time descend into madness. On this same note, I love the concept of the asylum, shifting and changing around the characters to keep them trapped inside, and manipulating them along the way. This, along with the manipulation of time and the aspect of daylight never coming, felt very much reminiscent of the Blair Witch films, possibly a nod to the film that started us genre fans on the found footage journey. Maybe not, who knows, but I love it. I also love that this film dwindled the cast down, knocking them off one by one until we were left with just Lance alone, lost in the endless tunnels below the building, slowly losing his mind and being reduced to eating rats. The film closes introducing us to an occult aesthetic and leaving the only one left alive broken and lobotomized, which brings us knocking on the door to Grave Encounters 2. This one definitely took things in a bit of a different direction straight from the jump, by taking a very meta approach and treating its predecessor as the film it is in reality. This one opens with a mashup of YouTubers reviewing Grave Encounters, before thrusting us into the daily life of a film student and lifetime horror fan, Alex, who has just seen Grave Encounters and given his review online. Quickly following this, he receives a mysterious message from someone called Death Awaits, leading him to believe that the events of the film might just be real. Now, after watching the first film, we know that Death Awaits is what was painted on the front door of the hospital, which I thought was a nice touch. I'd like to tackle this one by saying that while I thought this was a very strong follow-up to the original, I at the same time don't feel that it fully lived up to it. I felt that the acting this time around wasn't as strong or convincing as the first film. The characters were a little bit less developed than I would have liked. I found myself struggling to care about anyone in this one. In a lot of ways, I felt like the only thing keeping me involved was the intrigue of where this whole plot was leading me, which isn't necessarily a bad thing entirely, but it leaves you wanting more. The visual effects were once again an issue this time. While the morphing faces did improve a bit, the finale featured some effects that teetered on the edge of cartoony. Not that I could do better, I don't know the first thing about CGI. That being said, I love what they did with the story. I love that they took it so much further than I personally expected it to go. They played up the occult aesthetic that they introduced at the end of the first film and brought it into a much darker place. Some might even call it a bit otherworldly or Lovecraftian. The whole red door aspect was very cool to incorporate, especially in the wake of the first Insidious film. I love that they brought back Lance Preston. Still alive, still crazy, still eating rats. He was given license to go all out in this one, and it shows that he was having fun with it. I even love that they used him to put a method to the madness of the building. That he had been there so long that he started to figure out the patterns of how it changed. Overall, I think these were both really great films, and if you haven't seen them yet, you should seek them out and give them a chance. Which is why I'm giving Grave Encounters an A, and Grave Encounters 2 a B-. These films are not without flaws. I myself didn't expect very much from them at first, but was pleasantly surprised in the end. Perhaps you will be too. If you've had a chance to see this flick, please feel free to let me know. It's just a quick scroll down there in that comment section below. If you like this video, maybe a little more than you can describe, shoot me a little thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. If you really enjoy my channel and you want to support it even more, consider checking out ETF on Patreon or Tippy, where every pledge and every tip brings more films to explore. But all jokes and rhymes aside, if you have any suggestions for films that you would like me to check out, or that you would like to see reviewed on this channel, feel free to reach out to me here on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, and I will catch you all next time. Thanks for watching.